Hey everyone, Chris Lewis, one of the co-founders of Fathering Together. Thanks so much for being here tonight. You may have noticed last night we went live as well. We're talking to a number of our authors over the next few weeks as we get ready for Father's Day, because we're really excited about our new Fathering Stories book that is now out. It's out on digital. You can find it on a ton of different sites, and you can see in the link today. I put a link to our website where you can find it too. What we've done is work with people like you. We have identified individuals that have stories to tell, and all of you have stories to tell. And that's what's so exciting for us, is to be able to have people from our community telling their stories as fathers. And tonight we have one of those individuals that is an author in the book. David Stanley is with us. David, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure, Chris. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. You and I go back a ways. And for those of you that don't know David is a teacher. He's a author. He's a voiceover artist. I think he does a little bit of everything. I know he's a bike rider as well. Next thing I know, he's going to be a unicycler that juggles too. There's lots of things that you just don't know what he does, right? But David and I go back a ways. We first met writing and kind of in being advocates for dads. David, you have a couple sons yourself, right?
Just the one.
Oh,
Aaron, he's 27, just graduated. Yeah, just one guy. He's 27, just graduated from U of M. He was playing tennis at Albion College and decided that this was a few years ago, that he really was just kind of spinning his wheels. The tennis was good, but he had academic discipline, but he didn't know how to apply it. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do. And so he took a couple of years off. He's working full time. He's got a great job as a pharmacy tech. And now he's a U of M graduate, and he's interested in doing sports psychology. That's his undergrad degree. So of course he's looking at, master's and probably a PhD program at some point down the road. But I keep telling him, he needs to get that sports psychology thing and then move someplace where he could use it, like, to work with tennis players. He's also a very good golfer. Or Park City, Utah. I'm back. And oddly, I don't hear you. Nope, I have no audio, sir.
Oh, okay, I hear you.
Okay,
technology. Good. I was talking, everybody. I was talking to all of you, and I had all these things that I was saying, and I had my mute on. You gotta love technology. Well, anyway, okay, we're back.
Oh, jeez.
So we're back with David Stanley, one of the authors of Fathering Together, the new book that we have. And in this book, we are really excited to be able to share stories. And David, you write a lot of stories. You've had the opportunity to write a lot of stories for the last many years. Some about your own life, some about
Right.
your children's lives, talking about being a father, talking about being a son, talking about your own experience with skin cancer. I mean, you've told a lot of stories. You chose a story for this book that was very personal. What made you choose the story that you decided to share?
Yeah, that's a really interesting bit in itself. You know, I am a generation older than most of the dads in our group. My son is not that much younger than a lot of the dads in the father universe. And so I was trying to think of something that would kind of take me back to when I was that young dad, when I was 33, 34, 35 years old. And, just really just, we're all struggling as new dads, right? None of us, we're all kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We're doing the stuff that our dads did that worked, and we're not doing the stuff that our dads did that didn't work. And so that was one of the very first stories that I had. I wrote that, oh, geez, probably in 2013, and Aaron was 20, and he was born in 92. And so that story actually took place in, like, I don't know, 96 or 97. He was 3 or 4 years old, and we were out on a tennis court because he has, from the time he could stand up and hold on to a racquetball racket with two hands, he's loved to slug first racquetballs in the basement against the cinder block walls, and then tennis balls. And nothing would get in his way. I mean, that's how he got good enough to play college tennis, is he just was, every college athlete is obsessed, in a good way, but still, obsessed. And that story in there, I thought, kind of ticked a lot of boxes for our guys. It showed me as a dad who was not real sure if he was doing the right thing at first, and, being the best dad he could to a little kid, as opposed to, some of the stories that I have written about, like, with him as a teenager or older. And then in the end, I actually think I look pretty good. I did the right
Yeah, it was
thing.
a great.
Uh,
Yeah, it was a great story. I mean, for those of you that don't know, I mean, it really tells the story of David with his son and some experience that they had at the tennis court when he was really young. And I think that all of us have different stories. And one of the things that I think was really interesting was you were. I think one of the lines in your story says that you were a stay-at-home dad before being a stay-at-home dad was cool. And I liked that.
right. Yeah.
So,
Um,
so what
that
what was
was
that like for you?
it was, I think, in a way, a little bit easier for me than than for some of the other dads that, of essentially of your generation, because when I was doing it, it was, excuse me, it was an incredible novelty. So as a result, I wasn't seen with a lot of the suspicion and distrust that a lot of, if we back up, like, 10 years, when you and I first met and first started doing a lot of fatherhood stuff together, if we back up to 2010, stay-at-home dads were, on the playground. Obviously, something is wrong. You should probably call the cops. That's what a lot of the moms were thinking. A lot of the moms did. And, in 1995, it was such a novelty that people didn't think that I was, like, some sort of pedophile or, a kidnapper waiting to grab more children. They were just kind of dumbfounded because nobody else was doing it. And I was doing it mostly because Andy, my first wife, and I, we crunched the numbers, and it made sense. What I was bringing in in my line of work versus what we would be paying out in childcare. It's the same calculus that you all do. And she was well on her career with Eli Lilly Pharmaceuticals. The numbers came out that we came out ahead if I worked just a couple hours a day, but spent the majority of my time taking care of Aaron. So I did. And people, at that point, people were just kind of like, that's a kind of a new thing. They didn't even, I didn't even hear too much or of any of that sort of thing. But this day on the tennis court that's in that story, at first it was like I don't know, it was hot. I mean, it was like 95 degrees and 90 degrees, 90% humidity, and it was noon, and that 4-year-old boy was not going to be denied. Come on, Dad, we got to hit, dude. It's 95 degrees. Can't we, wait? Nope, we're going. We got to play tennis. All right. You put the shirt on, we're all covered up in sunscreen, and we get the water bottle, we go out there, and like the first mom or two were actually old friends of mine from high school, and they're watching, and Aaron was obviously already pretty good, and they're like, look at that little kid, man, he's beating the crap out of that ball, he's running Dave all over the place. And then the other moms, the mean girls, the queen bee moms, they showed up, and they were just like, I can't believe that little boy, that dad has his little boy out there. The hell, he dragged me out here, and we'll be out here for 20 minutes, right? It's like, and where is that little boy's mother? And that's when I kind of lost my shit, because I knew where that little boy's mother was. She was calling on hospitals to sell them cardiac drugs for their ICUs. I knew exactly where she was. So I turned and I just looked at him and I said, this was his idea. We have water. We'll be in the pool in about 20 minutes if anybody wants to check up on us. We're covered in sunscreen. He's wearing a hat. He's going to be fine. I know how to take care of my son, really.
Yeah.
And then we just went back playing tennis.
So when you wrote this, because you wrote this a couple of years back, and when you first shared this
Right.
with Aaron, what was his experience? What was his reaction?
He didn't remember all of it because we were out there. We were fortunate that we lived, 2 miles from the tennis club. So we were out there every day. And in Michigan, like Michigan in the summer is hot and humid. And so for him, the days kind of ran together. But when I reminded him of who some of the moms were, a few years later, well, he knew those women and he didn't like them. He's like, oh, so-and-so's mom. Yeah, she's tough. Yeah. But the tennis part, that was just a no-brainer for him. He just would not be denied.
So what was it
Yeah.
about? Well, I know you're a storyteller, and when the call did go out to want to tell stories, what made you decide that you wanted to be a part of this project?
Oh, I think what we're doing is really, like you said, that's for sure. I write constantly because if you don't write it down, nobody's ever going to know those stories. And they might not be in the big picture. I'm not Faulkner, or I'm not, Pepys or any, a famous diarist. But at some point, maybe one or a couple of those stories help people, right? I mean, that's why I wrote my book on melanoma, was hopefully somebody would learn from my mistakes. So I decided as soon as I saw that, I went, oh, I got that. I've got some great stories about when Aaron was little. And looking back over 25 years, I've kind of figured out some things about being a dad. And I think in the stories, that's how we learn. I mean, that's kind of the natural, go back 5,000 years ago, there would be, sitting around the campfire telling stories of, our hunting success or whatever. I mean, as men, and I suspect as women too, but I communicate most of my stories, in this book, I think are targeted at men. Stories are how we learn and how we share our information and how we kind of celebrate each other. And so I thought all of that, celebrate each other, share some stories, entertain a little bit, make somebody laugh, learn something. I thought this checks all the boxes. I mean, this is the perfect idea. And, as a board member of Fathering Together, I'm already on board with all of that anyway. So it was just, I couldn't not do it. Let's put it that way.
So you said you're a board member of Fathering Together. I know that. Not everybody knows that. But what is it about Fathering Together that made you want to decide to be a board member?
It had enough traction in the community to have a positive effect on a lot of people. That was a big plus. I've been involved in a lot of projects, all of them worthwhile, but there's a tipping point for all kinds of projects. And you guys weren't until after with the the dads with daughters thing blew up so big. And I looked at what you were doing, and I read the mission statement, and I looked at, I know a bunch of the other board members, and when you and I talked, I was like, absolutely, we're diverse, we're inclusive, we're about, all the things that I view as being a good parent and a good father are all the things we just match up so well with fathering together. And again, chance to, share a little leadership, uh, help some people over some humps. Um, I've we all make mistakes as parents and as men, and hopefully, if you read the right story at the right time, maybe your mistake will. So I was pretty excited actually. If you think back when you asked me if I would be on the board, my first thought was, well, I can't say no to Chris. All right, so that's the plus. And I also agree with like everything that this program espouses. So yeah, I should probably hop on board this train.
Well, I'm glad you did. So everyone, the book is out right now, Fathering Stories. It's volume 1. This is definitely the first step of many stories to come. That we have a lot of stories, and they all come from you. And that's the one thing that, that we are so excited about. We are so excited that every one of the authors in this book is a part of our communities, and they are telling their stories. They're sharing their stories with all of you. And this book is a way to be able to share the diversity, not only that is in our group, but share the diversity of experiences that each father has. No father is going to be the same. No way of fatherhood is the right way. So it's so important that as we father our children, that we learn from other dads, and that we're willing to share with others and learn from others. And that's what this book allows for all of us to do. So, David, thank you so much for being a part of this book. I encourage everyone to go grab a copy for yourself. It's out there right now. I think it's $1.99. It's not that much. It's not that expensive. And it's a great read. You're going to find that we have it both on digital, on Amazon. You can go and they have you can even get a published copy of it if you really want to, and you can do either of those. But it is live now. We are really hoping that all of you will take a read of it. If you enjoy it, leave a review, because we definitely want others to know your experience with the book and your experience with these stories too. We're going to have more of the authors here on Fathering Together at 9:30, and hopefully we don't have the technological issues that we had tonight on all of the calls. I don't think we will, but we learn every time we do these things so that you can learn from others as well. One thing, if you do have an interest in checking out the book, I have it in the link here on the post itself, but it's just go over to fatheringtogether.org and go /books. And if you go there, you're going to see a link to all of the different platforms that we're on. And if you're interested in telling your own story, we have a subgroup within our community that is a storytellers group. And it's Fathering Together Storytellers. And if you go to that, you'll be able to come in and meet up with a number of other people that are writing and are trying to share their stories. You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to be a published author. It's for anyone that wants to tell their own story and share it in different ways. So, David, thank you. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being here and being a part of this community.
My pleasure, Chris. Wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.